Hello and welcome to Lockout Tagout training. I'm Eric Schneider, the EHS manager here on site. You'll notice on the first slide and the last slide of this presentation, there will be a link to a 10-question test that must be completed. In order to pass this test, you must get 8 out of 10 correct. That being said, let's get started. So what is Lockout Tagout? It is also referred to as LOTO. Lockout blocks the flow of energy from power source to equipment with a physical lock. Tagout provides only a means of warning. The tag does not physically lock anything out. As you'll see from this picture, this is not an appropriate way to lock out a piece of equipment. Here's an excerpt directly from OSHA regulations about energy control programs. The employer shall establish a program consisting of energy control procedures, employee training, and periodic inspections to ensure that before any employee performs any servicing or maintenance on a machine or equipment where unexpected energizing, startup, or release of stored energy could occur and cause injury, the machine or equipment shall be isolated from energy source and rendered inoperative. Remember that failure to lock out tagout equipment is one of the leading causes of injury and fatalities in industry. Ignorance of lockout tagout procedures cannot be tolerated under any circumstances. Simply put, the program must be in place, the training must be conducted, and evaluations for effectiveness must be followed. You can find all the rules and regulations about lockout tagout in 29 CFR 1910.147, Control of Hazardous Energy. This section covers operators and service personnel, requires training for employees. There are 3 categories of employee: authorized, affected, and other. It also includes a written program that must be on site, which is available for anyone who wants to check it out. Requirements for lockout tagout devices. LOTO devices must be able to withstand the environment in which they are used. They should also be standardized according to color, size, or shape, and should be substantial enough so that they cannot accidentally be removed. Locks must not be used for anything other than the control of equipment energy sources. They cannot be used for lockers or toolboxes. Here is a list of common energy sources: electrical, hydraulic, pneumatic, steam, thermal, chemical, and gravity. Remember that some machines may have more than one energy source that needs to be locked out. Authorized employees are employees who maintain equipment, service equipment, and are trained in the use of lockout tagout. Authorized employees are those who are also at risk while equipment is being repaired or adjusted. Authorized employee responsibilities include repair or service of equipment as needed, follow machine-specific lockout/tagout procedures, notify management if machine-specific procedures need revision, ensure that all energy sources are locked out, test equipment to verify residual energy has dissipated, and place a danger do not operate tag on equipment. Additional responsibilities for authorized employees include obtain assistance when necessary. Never hesitate to ask for assistance when repairing a piece of equipment. Extra eyes and ears are always important safety aids. Authorized employees should always remove locks and tags while at the same time communicating to affected employees that the repair is complete and the equipment is safe to operate. If work needs to continue into the next shift, the authorized employee from the first shift shall remove lockout tagout devices and have the shift coming on duty place their own locks and tags on the equipment. Only people working on a particular piece of equipment should have locks and tags on that equipment. Affected employees are employees who operate equipment, work around equipment being worked on, and may occasionally adjust equipment and be subject to lockout tagout. Affected employee responsibilities include notify maintenance when equipment needs repair or adjustment, leave all lockout tagout devices in place, verify equipment is safe to operate following lockout tagout, follow all safety rules while operating the equipment. Affected employees work near the equipment. The more an affected employee knows about the equipment that is being locked out, the safer the lockout operation will be. The company's responsibilities include ensure de-energization of equipment, ensure employee awareness, provide appropriate levels of training, review program effectiveness, maintain and revise program when necessary, administer appropriate disciplinary actions. It is important that the company lives up to its regulatory responsibility. Lockout tagout is a major cause of industrial fatalities and must be taken seriously. If you are intentionally violating lockout tagout rules, appropriate disciplinary action will be taken to avoid future incidents. Annual reviews will be conducted to ensure that the lockout tagout program is followed. There are several types of lockout tagout devices. Here is a list of the more common ones: locks, blocks, chains, multi-lock hasps, ball or wheel valve covers, switch or circuit breaker covers. Multi-hardware kits are located in PVC between PVC 3 and 6 in the bottom drawer of the filing cabinet, and there is also a kit located in VA between VA 4 and 6 in the bottom of the red cabinet. Tags should always accompany the use of any of these devices. A tag is not a device because it does not prevent the startup of equipment. Pictured on this slide are examples of lockout tagout devices. We have electrical breaker switch covers, wheel valve covers, ball valve covers, and e-stop covers. In this slide, we have built-in hardware devices. The most commonly used one that you see here is the automation cell door handle. This is where you would place your lock to lock out the automation cell and make sure that you are safe while you conduct your work. Here we have a list of equipment that typically requires lockout tagout. We have compressors, vacuums, and dryers, HVAC systems, conveyor belts, pumps, production equipment such as robots, chillers, and presses, trash compactors, ovens, and test chambers. Basically, any equipment with hazardous energy is subject to lockout tagout. This list is obviously not all inclusive. When in doubt, check it out and don't take any equipment for granted. When must lockout tagout be used? When servicing or maintaining equipment where hazardous energy exists, unplanned startup of equipment could occur, if either or both conditions could harm an employee, when safeguards are removed or bypassed, if an employee is required to place in any part of his or her body into an area on a machine or piece of equipment where work is being performed. Lockout tagout should be used when employees are required to remove or bypass a safety device, such as kill switches, light curtains, or interlocking mechanisms. When employees are required to place any part of their body in harm's way, and when employees are exposed to hazardous energy. Take a look at this picture. Do these individuals look like they're following lockout tagout properly? Here is an example of when lockout tagout must be used. The cleaning of urethane tips in the VA area. The automation cell must be locked out to clean the urethane tips. This process involves partially entering the automation cell and only relying on a light curtain to ensure that the equipment does not run. This is not enough protection, and not locking out the automation cell could result in serious injury. At this time, we have only one task that is considered routine and does not require lockout tagout. It is opening the door to the horizontal presses.
Do you see a lockout tagout concern? Initially, I would say no. There's no one in the cell. It doesn't necessarily need to be locked out. But upon further review, you will notice that there is somebody knelt down behind one of the robots. This could be a very dangerous situation, especially since the cell is not locked out.
Take a look at this picture. Do you see any lockout tagout concerns? Take a look at this picture. This is the most common lockout tagout violation. Please make sure you take the extra 5 seconds to close the lock and remove the key to make sure you keep yourself safe. Here are the shutdown procedures for lockout tagout. Step 1. Employee notification. Communicate to the employees in the area that you are going to shut down the machine and lock it out. Step 2. Prepare for shutdown. Make sure shutdown instructions are known and appropriate methods for controlling energy are understood. Step 3. Machine equipment shutdown. Shut down the equipment according to specific procedures. Step 4. Machine equipment isolation. Perform mechanical disconnects required for isolation. Step 5. Attach lockout tagout device. Step 6. Dissipate stored energy. Batteries and capacitors could have stored energy, so make sure you hit the start button. There's also springs, and don't forget about gravity. Step 7. Verification. Prior to servicing or maintenance, authorized employees must verify machine has been de-energized. Step 8. Release of lockout tagout. Inspect the work area. Employees safely positioned. Lockout tagout removed. Remember, only the authorized employee who applied the original lockout tagout is allowed to take the lockout tagout off. Here is the typical lockout tagout procedures to start up when the job is complete. Want to make sure to verify all work is completed, notify any affected employees, remove isolating devices, energize equipment, test equipment operation, and make sure that you clean up your mess. Here are a few tips on how to perform lockout tagout safely. Follow safety procedures for lockout tagout. Refer to those procedures on how to lock out specific equipment. Keep everyone informed when equipment is repaired or serviced. Stay alert and use common sense. It is a requirement for companies to have a written lockout tagout procedure. Just remember that if lockout tagout is not followed, you are the one who will be injured. Group lockout tagout. More than one person is allowed to maintain or work on a machine. However, there are a few rules that apply to group lockout tagout. Each authorized employee must affix a personal lockout tagout device as required in the standard when work begins and remove it when work is complete. In other words, you have to put your own lock on and remove your own lock when work is complete. You can't piggyback off anyone else's lock. When more than one person is maintaining or working on a machine that requires lockout-tagout, a hasp may be required to be placed as the lockout. Hasps allow more than one lockout to be applied to a machine. Each operator is to place their own individual lock on the hasp before entering. Hasps are located on most of the automation cells, and if additional hasps are needed, contact EHS. Lockout tagout training requirements are as followed. Authorized employees need to be trained initially and at least annually. Affected employees at least initially. Authorized and affected employees need to be trained whenever changes are made to the jobs or procedures. Authorized and affected employees also need to be trained when program deficiencies are noted. This concludes our lockout tagout training. Please follow lockout tagout procedures to keep yourself safe. Make sure to complete the test to receive credit for this training. The link is on this page. A score of 8 out of 10 is required to pass. Have yourselves a great day.